The average doctor would probably get an extra 5 to 10 new patients a month if you just did that one thing. Because I bet you the first time you do it, that person calls back and schedules with your front desk within 10 minutes.
All right, everybody, as promised, I'm Dr. Jeff Langmaid, here with my co-host, Dr. Jason Deitch, and we are happy to connect with a friend and a chiropractor that has an event you need to pay attention to coming up, Dr. Heath McKinley. Heath, you have Zennate coming up at the beginning of June. We want to talk all about it and highlight why this is such an important event and what these docs that show up are going to get out of it and how it's going to really propel them as they get into this year, next year, and their career as a whole. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
It is our pleasure. Let's kick it off right there. Who's the ideal doc? Your event's coming up first weekend in June. It's in Chicago. It looks awesome. But who is this ideally for? What chiropractors need to perk up and pay attention?
Well, I guess first and foremost are chiropractors who really obviously not only want to grow, whether it's volume or financially, however they want to look at that, grow personally, but particularly want to grow their team as well, get their team bought in, have everyone A players. We're going to have a CA breakout section that is really going to highlight how your staff can just be so much more efficient with scheduling. And that sounds so easy, right? It's like, if you're a football analogy, it's like, oh, we're going to work on running the ball up the middle. But if that's not done right, then nothing of the fancy stuff works. So, the technology component of answering the phone, email, text response, what you should say, when you should say it, how you should say it. I mean, it's so critical. And I really don't think, I've been in this 23 years. I've been to a lot of events. I love going to seminars. I love connecting locally and nationally. And I just don't see it as something that's taught on a regular basis, at least where you're diving in and doing, one-on-ones with people. For example, there's a few good people out there doing like day one, day twos. I think there's some good, whether it's, like Dan Bai, Brad Gawacki, real cool stuff that if you guys haven't been to that sort of thing, you should. It'll improve your business acumen and make you excited to be a chiropractor. Think of that, but think of that more on the team side from the CA. How do they, because you can't even do a good day one, day two if they don't get there in the first place, right? And that's just one component. I'm just talking about the CA breakout. We will have a doctor component. I have some really nice guest speakers coming in. That's all. I don't want to, necessarily waste the time here going into that. It's all, click it, www.zennate.com. I'm sure you'll put a link for it. But back to your original question. Okay, so while you could be right out of school and this would benefit you, I would have really died to have something like this right out of school. I guess I'm looking at someone who's right at that point where maybe they're thinking about hiring a second or third CA. Maybe they're thinking about hiring their first associate or their second associate, or maybe they still like doing everything on their own. They just want to do it more efficiently. So they have more time and can, I guess, close earlier. And I would also think about the doc. I've been in 23 years. Maybe they're already doing things great. They don't necessarily want a new CA or another associate, but they would like to know they have the systems to let the staff go on extra paid vacations. Maybe they're paid vacation. I can't tell you how many docs I know that have never taken more than a week off at a time. Not that they don't want to, they just can't let go, or they don't have the right systems in place. And so there's a lot of anxiety that goes along with that. And I think that's unfortunate. We're in the wellness industry, and I think part of being well is knowing that you can comfortably take time off and you're not going to come back to a mess, or not stress that you're down 10 or 20% every time you leave, which makes you not want to go in the first place. So I've been traveling, particularly outside the country, for maybe on average 10 to 12 weeks a year to visit family. My wife's from South America. In fact, if it's okay, guys, I'm drinking some of my South American mate right now. So this is in the afternoon. Doesn't make you twitch like coffee, but that's important. I think it's a huge part of any business, really, not just for chiropractors, but if we're talking about thoughts, traumas, and toxins, and your business isn't set up to where you can leave for long periods of time. One of our associates leaves for almost a month at a time. He's been with us 10 years. Dr. Matt Ray, wonderful, amazing adjuster. And he just really likes to spend a lot of time with his family. His dad is still in Johannesburg, who's also a chiropractor. And he goes pretty much from Thanksgiving to Christmas every year for the last 10 years. I'm not saying that our exact model needs to be what everyone else needs to do, but they can take pieces of that to help it fit their end game.
Hey doc, the money is in your list. If you're not utilizing weekly email newsletters to drive reactivations into your practice, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. To schedule a demo and see how we help hundreds of docs do this each and every week, go to thesmartchiropractor.com today. Again, that is thesmartchiropractor.com. Schedule a demo with our team. But right now, we'll get back into this awesome interview on Interviews by the Smart Chiropractor.
Heath, that's awesome. That sounds like, I guess I'll say, a broad audience. Let me ask you I'll say opposite question, which is, who is this not for? Is this, if you're still in school, should they not come? If you, like you said, if they don't have staff, but they want, who would you say shouldn't come? Who's not going to get something out of this?
The first thing I always think about, Jason, when someone asks that, I say someone that's looking for CE credit.
Okay, good. That's a good answer.
No, it really, I mean, we have Dr. Tom Collerton coming in, who's, expert in nutrition, and think of it as, if somebody sends their x-rays out to a DAC bar to have them reviewed, Tom does that for our functional medicine side of our practice. He's really good at helping high-volume chiropractors use functional medicine. So he gets it. He understands the language. We could have had a CE credit for him, and he asked me if I wanted it. I said, I actually don't. Maybe in the future we will, because I don't want anyone to come that wants CE credits. Like, that shouldn't be. There's other places that are a good fit for that. I would say, a student, it's probably a little bit early. I'd say if you've gotten through at least like your first year, you've maybe taken some knocks and you're starting to figure things out, like that'd be a good time. That being said, if there is a student listening to this, if you want to come, I tell you what, I would be willing to set aside a few seats. If you instant message us, or you're crafty enough to find a way to get a hold of my staff or me, let us know. I'll find a way for you to come for free. I can't say that for everyone. I'll do that for 3 or 4 docs if they want to reach out to us, because it's not necessarily not beneficial. I wouldn't want a student spending the money that's not right off the bat. But since you asked, that's who. And I also would say it shouldn't be for someone who's, think about exiting. We're not going to talk about anything about exit strategy at this event. Not that that's not important, because it is, but that's not what we'll be covering.
I love that. Thank you. And this is at Zennate.com. We will drop the links down below. Heath, this is happening that first weekend in June 7th and 8th. And what I'm hearing from you is that this is really for those docs out there that are in that growth process. They are looking to streamline operations. They are looking to really take control of their business in a meaningful way and serve more people by being more effective and efficient with their time. What are some of the sessions out there that you believe docs should really be looking out for when they take a look at the schedule over on your website?
Well, we don't have, first off, the schedule of when the speakers are going to speak. We don't have that on the website itself, but I think most of what I'm talking about is what I'm going to be speaking about personally. I don't want to give it all away right here, but whenever I'm speaking, that's when you're going to get a lot out of this. Some of the other speakers are just people that I'm friendly with in their profession, and they're things that we do in our office that I also want to promote their businesses since it's helpful. For example, Dr. Hilde, I graduated with at Palmer 23 years ago, and she has the company, her and her husband Rui, BB Hug Me, out of Norway, and they've recently entered the American market, and they're the number one selling pregnancy pillow and breastfeeding pillow in Europe now. And it's just phenomenal. And it's all, made by chiropractors who are still in practice. So she couldn't make it out, but one of her basically most popular American docs that she works with is going to be there. So if you're into, pregnancy, pediatrics, we are going to have someone speaking on that as well and promoting her product. I know she's going to give a bunch of stuff away, or at least specials. Joe Esposito, if you haven't heard of Joe before, he has the Align Life franchise. I think it's mainly more in the American Southeast, but Joe has his own software. He's got his own supplement line. It's almost like, what doesn't Joe do? Joe could have retired probably 20 years ago. He just keeps doing things. And so anytime you can be around Joe's energy, we're all going to get something out of that, right? I'm sure you guys know Dr. Esposito as well. We just recently found out that Dr. Austin Cohen, who's a dear friend of mine, one of my closest friends in chiropractic, he is actually not going to be able to show up. We just found out a couple days ago. So he's going to do something special for people who really want to hear him from a Zennate point of view. And that's where the word Zennate, the reason why I came up with that is a lot of my chiropractic friends always said I was Zen. I'm not a Zen Buddhist, or I didn't study any of that. But while I do like philosophy, I just thought the balance that comes with Zen and then innate intelligence, if you're a true chiropractor, how do we bring that together? Because a lot of people are trying to release subluxations to allow innate intelligence to do its thing. but then on one side, their life is not balanced. They're not spending enough time with family. They're not paying their staff what they want to pay them. They're not giving them as much time off. And so there's a disconnect in the thoughts, traumas, and toxins of great chiropractors, and it's not right. And we want that to change.
On that sort of Zennate spirit and so on, I guess I'll close by asking you to, invite everybody there. But why do you do it? You have a very successful practice as well. What drives you to want to, I'll say, help others, really? I mean, you're doing it. You know it. You've done this for many decades. We've known each other decades at this point. You don't need to do this. Why are you doing it?
It's a great question. I recently had to explain that even to my wife. So, who's always been super supportive along this process. But it's one of those things, Jason, where I kind of was journaling maybe 2016, 17. I kind of had written this down. We were going to start something maybe around COVID. That's a popular story, right? Oh, COVID got in the way, and then it got kind of put on the back burner. And then just somehow it came out again, right? I think what happened was a lot of docs like us who love this profession, you're always trying to help your friends. And somebody who I was texting back and forth, a local doc here in Chicago, was like, why don't you do something with this? Because I feel bad. I'm always texting you, like, how can I repay you? And I'm never asking anything in return. And I just said, if it weren't for people taking the time to host events, I never would have been able to get out of the hump. Like, my first 4 years in practice were good, but I could have saved a lot of stress. I'd be lying up there one day as I was crying with stress, didn't know what to do next. And because of, whether it's anybody from, Larry Marchand to Patrick Gentempo, to Brad Gowacki, to you, Jason, I could go on and on with all the names. This isn't the time for that. But if I can, well, why wouldn't I? Right. So I was like, let's just throw this together and let me share what we're good at. Why people who even have bigger and maybe even more profitable practices than us, they still ask us for advice because there's some things they're missing. Like, okay, how do we niche that and say, let's just teach people this stuff. So it really came from a place of giving. I'm sort of, disconnected from how small or big it becomes. I just know it's going to be right. And then, as you say, all else follows.
Love that. Heath, it has been awesome to connect with you. Docs listening, if you are a doer and you want to learn from other doers, as Heath has highlighted, this is really the opportunity to roll up your sleeves, hop over, take a seat, bring your team, and learn. And when you get out of there, you are going to not only discover some new ways that you can approach your business, but you're also going to approach and learn and discover how you can take your business to the next level.
Hey,
with
Jeff, if you don't mind, sorry to cut you off,
please.
Might take a couple of minutes, just in case someone can't make it or we never connect again, but they took the time to watch your podcast, which, by the way, for those watching this, we also use the Smart Chiropractor newsletter, and we love it. I don't want to just share one little tip that I don't know if I was going to say at the seminar or not. I probably wasn't, but I just want to give something away if that's okay.
Please.
Yeah. So, when your staff might get, a lead that someone finds you on Google or referral, and maybe they text in or they leave an email or even call, and they're just not quite ready to schedule. Your staff's tried their best to answer their question. I don't know if they did it right. They should come to our event so they make sure they get it right. But let's just even assume they did it right. And at the end of the night, when you're having a huddle, if you even have one, if you don't, that would be another red flag, post-shift huddle, not just a pre-shift huddle. And they say, oh, so-and-so texted in and they said they had, their arm was falling asleep or migraines or, maybe something with whatever it is that you see. They just didn't schedule yet, but they had their phone number. They didn't even say they wanted to call back. You just had it. And maybe your staff didn't even talk to them. It's just an email that's in your inbox and they need to follow up. Or maybe they tried to follow up and we haven't heard back yet. And it's been a day. One of the things that I do, I'll take my phone if they have their number and I'll just type in their number. And you know what a voice message is, where you record your own voice and send it like a text?
Yep.
I'll say something like this. Let's say I'm hitting record. Hi, Jenny. My name's Dr. McKinley. My staff forwarded me your name and phone number. It looks like you've been suffering from, quite a bit of sciatica after your third baby. I don't have any notes here whether or not you had an epidural. All I can tell you is we've seen patients like this for years. We love helping with it. I can't wait to help you. Typically for something like this, we'll probably run a couple different x-rays. I don't know for sure because I haven't seen you yet. We might also run an EMG test amongst many other exams when I see you. If you had any specific clinical questions, feel free to leave a text or a voicemail. I'll get back to you when I'm done with patients tonight. If it's just scheduling, the line you were texting or emailing earlier is the fastest way to schedule. Looks like we have a couple openings tomorrow and Friday. My staff can help you with that. I just wanted to reach out. If you had clinical questions that you needed answered before you come in, I'd be happy to do so. Looking forward to helping you, and we'll see you real soon. Bye-bye. Here's what's going to happen with that. She's going to listen to that. By the way, if they haven't scheduled yet, they're probably busy for many different reasons, or maybe they're at work and they can't check their phone, and maybe they forgot. Maybe they looked you up, lost a web. If they called 3 places and they were even shopping, what do you think the chances are the other person had the confidence, certainty, or strategy to even just call them back and leave a message? Someone a long time ago, Jason, you might remember, I think it might have been from like 20 years ago, one of those Master Circle seminars. Somebody said, they don't need to know everything that you know. They just need to know that you know. Right? Do you remember that, Jason?
I do.
I don't know. Do you remember who said that? It was
no, that's exactly right.
Yeah, might have been Alan Russo back in the day. I don't know. Whatever. I remember that for years, and I used that in that strategy. I started doing that during COVID because it was just a weird time. We lived here in Chicago. Chicago was a mess during COVID. We still grew, but whatever. And that one tip, if you just did that one thing, I mean, I bet you'd get the average doctor would probably get an extra 5 to 10 new patients a month doing that one thing, right? They just need to know that you care, that your voice sounds certain. I mean, I don't necessarily want you to fake it, you're right, but it's just so simple. So I just wanted to give that tip away. Try that. Yeah, it might feel awkward the first time you do it. Some people will get all in their head and they won't do it because they don't feel comfortable. You're always going to feel uncomfortable when you try new things. Try that and see what happens. I bet you the first time you do it, that person calls back and schedules with your front desk within 10 minutes.
I absolutely love that. Heath, thank you so much for sharing it. And docs listening and watching, that is a tip of the iceberg. The double entendre there. A tip and a tip of the iceberg at Wayo Experience, June 7th and 8th, happening in the great city of Chicago. We'll drop a link down below, or you can head over to Zennate.com, Zennate.com. Pick up your ticket. If you can bring your team, I encourage you to do so. You're going to learn much more about what Heath just discussed, and you're going to be happy you made the decision to go. It's all happening in Chicago. Heath, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on and highlight what you're up to. And thank you for taking action and putting together a fantastic event where docs can come, get together, build camaraderie, and learn how to be better each and every day. We love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for watching this video on The Smart Chiropractor. To not miss a single thing that's clinically oriented, marketing oriented, or more, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel today.